Hey, beautiful family and friends. Welcome again. How are we? Doing good. It's been a rainy day, but the sun is starting to come out, and I just wanted to leave another good word for the day before it's all over. And yesterday, the good word was about loving yourself to life, remember? Today, I'm kind of piggybacking off of that message and talking about the after effect of loving yourself to life because you shift. And I think we're all shifting from surviving in relationships to thriving in relationships. And what does that look like? It looks like going from a codependency to an interdependency. And there's a major difference, and I just wanted to talk about it because I've personally been there. I left a marriage that was codependent. I remember making an announcement to the family like, hey guys, I am sad to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm leaving the relationship because it is an unhealthy, codependent dynamic that makes me not feel very confident, or it is draining me. It's asking of too much of me, and that's not like me because there have been many years in the past, especially when I was living in California on my own and being a single mom, really, that I was independent and I had my daughter depending on me, but that was it. And I needed to find who that person was again because I had become lost. In California, when I left there, it was not easy. I was going through a corporate bullying situation that ended up in a settlement for me, and I basically needed to start over. And I remember my mom wasn't in a position to take me in, and she didn't want to jump off a cliff, so to speak, with me or go on any shaky adventures. She wanted to stay stable, and she made it very clear. And the only option that I had at the time was a good friend of mine. And, we were just friends. We didn't want to really cross that line. We were almost planning to be roommates. And, I had been invited to come and live with him. But over time, he grew on me, I grew on him. We decided to become more than friends and eventually even get married. But the way that the relationship started was very much like, me depending on him to keep me afloat, me and my daughter, to take on that role of a provider. And so that lasted for as long as it could before I needed to reset and do some healing and do it without that dynamic of the codependency, because I definitely realized that it wasn't helping me in the long run. And so it's personal for me to talk about codependent relationships. I had been in like 2 marriages that were that way. The first one, I was a singer with my husband, and we were a music duo, and it had gotten to the point where everywhere we went or everywhere that we performed, there was always the 2 of us. And it got to a place of, where do I begin? Where does he begin? Like, where do I end? Like, we just seemed joined at the hip. And I needed freedom from just being a little bit too attached to my partner. And that's why in the second marriage, when I was attached at the hip yet again, I decided this has got to stop, this vicious cycle. And I know that a lot of us have probably seen it happening generationally in our families. You may have seen parents that are codependent, or grandparents, or aunts, uncles, that kind of a thing, cousins. But it's one thing to just stay in that dynamic. A lot of people stay in it for the kids, but it's really unhealthy. I don't recommend staying in a relationship like that. So what is codependency? It's really rooted in insecurity and lack of self-love, unfortunately. It looks like I need you to complete me, or if you leave, I'll fall apart. I know that often we may hear that. You may experience a relationship that seems like every time you try to get away, you hear your partner say that, or you feel like this huge fear anytime you think of leaving. But that is totally codependency, and it looks like putting others before yourself and always overextending yourself and people pleasing. And that's due to a fear of abandonment. A lot of us stay in these unhealthy relationships out of fear of being alone or fear of change. And we end up overgiving, and our self-worth is really just about being needed, just losing your identity in the relationship. And all of that is the toxic codependency, survival mode kind of love. And no, we're not doing that anymore. I am in the most comfortable partnership currently, the most relaxed, the most trusting, and just positive vibes. And I really think it's due to us realizing that when we love ourselves and trust ourselves, that's where interdependence begins. And so you can attract relationships that are based on honoring boundaries and honoring growth. If there's no growth in the relationship, that's also a toxic dynamic. But if both of you are willing to grow, and it's like you're not performing love, you're being love, right? And if you can both meet at that, you're able to learn about yourself through your partner, and it's a beautiful, harmonious thing. It's healthy. It's a natural connection between two whole people. When you feel whole already, you're not needing another partner to complete you, and there's a mutual support coming without losing individuality. And so I saw some beautiful examples of interdependence in nature, and it happens with seeds and soil. Think about how both are whole by themselves, but they need one another to grow. So seeds and soil, the moon and the tides, and trees and lungs. We need the trees to give off oxygen, and so that our lungs can have air. So I like thinking of interdependence in that way. And what healthy love sounds like is saying, I love you, but I love me too. I support you, but I won't fix you. Loving you doesn't mean losing myself, you see? So if you're loving yourself to life already, none of that losing yourself, your identity, none of that surviving, none of that, it reminds me of that song, I can do bad all by myself. I don't need no help to starve to death. But none of that comes into play when you're in an interdependent relationship versus a codependent relationship. So that's it. I just wanted to put that out there, that healing codependency is some really sacred work, because you are breaking cycles that can be generational and can go back lifetimes. But the reward is peace and freedom and real connection, real sacred unions. I think we are all collectively learning this when Uranus was in Taurus. That's one of the big messages that came from that period of time since 2018. And so if you also had to learn that lesson, I am here for you. I get it. And so if you were listening and you're like, kind of sounds like I'm in a codependent relationship, just love yourself more. I trust that this message needed to reach you if it speaks to you. And that's my good word for today. Thanks for listening. And until next time, peace. Love you guys.